Hello?
You
I
can
got
go.
this.
Hello.
I got
Okay,
this
well, I was
connected.
counting to 15.
And I
15 might
suddenly
be
got
too much.
Too
disconnected.
slow.
15 might be
Anyway,
too much. Great intro. Let's start.
hello and welcome to episode 106 of the Sonic Talk podcast. Also, technically a special episode since we don't normally do these more than once a month, but we're doing that this time. I am your host, Nuckles87, and with me today is GX.
All I've been playing has been plumbing.
And some Sonic games, I would hope.
And some Sonic games. Some.
And also GX, and also Shigs.
Yes, I am not GX, I am Shigs.
Too late, you're GX now. Fix my plumbing.
We're going to have two of them.
I keep wanting to call you Pac-Man, especially since, like, we are currently Pac-Man on screen. Shigs the Pac-Man.
Today
Today
happens in the late stages of Pac-Man fever.
So, all right. So, December has been a busy month, as we expected. Well, a little busier than we were expecting, to be honest. So, since that this is a regular episode, we will be doing some news. But the primary reason why we are here is to discuss the two big events of December, which is the release of yet another Sonic platforming game, Sonic Dream Team, which we only just discussed like a couple weeks ago on the previous show because it got announced last month, and also the surprise Christmas Sage, which hopefully we've all had time to play games from that. Shigs,
I'm going to have to
GX?
bow out on that one.
Oh gosh, darn it. Okay, guess I should have. All right, well, at least GX, at least you've played some.
I have played some.
Okay, how many?
According to the tabs I have open on my screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in the realm of 7.
Okay, good. More than me, although I was focusing exclusively on on Sonic games. So yes, Sage and Dream Team. But first we are going to be discussing the surprising amount of news we've had.
You're telling me.
Yes. I cannot wait for February, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be our first quiet month, unless we get the Knuckles series in February.
I am thoroughly looking forward to it being dead. Like, I want things to be dead silent. I want us to have nothing to talk about.
Aside from Archie, because we will have the Fang miniseries. IDW, because we will have the Fang miniseries.
Well,
Archie's coming back!
With all Sega titles being revived, we're not going to... We'll maybe down a little bit on Sonic video game discussion, at least.
I doubt that. So, all right. So first, some TV show news. Sonic Prime Part 3 got its synopsis. It is, as expected, dramatic. As they often try to be with these. So
Sure.
It seems like the main focus of this final part of the show, or the season if it gets renewed, I guess, is going to be 9 trying to reshape the Shatterverse.
I mean, this is what we saw in the trailer. Like, there's no surprise here. It's what they led up to. It's what they showed off. Like, obviously, that's going to be...
And the prism power is as unstable as its wielder, and requires energy trapped inside Sonic to stabilize. Extracting said energy, however, means that Sonic himself may shatter. Which, if this were funner than it actually is, that would mean we would get, like, multiple Sonics, but I don't expect we'll be getting that.
You hit me up on you had weird phrasing at the beginning there. The concept of this show being renewed.
Yeah, like, I mean, technically it could happen. Like, they've said it's a possibility that they could make more.
I'm more inclined to think that they would make another series.
that is generally what I would think. But sometimes, like, maybe it'll be Sonic Prime in like a subtitle or something. Sonic Prime is a pretty general. It's not really an especially specific name. Like, if I'm being honest, like, it's not like Sonic is the Prime Sonic in this. It's not like the Archie multiverse or something.
It's because he works for Amazon.
But so as the final battle for the fate of the Shadowverse and Green Hill begins, Sonic will be forced to make the ultimate sacrifice to save his friends and enemies alike, which, like, that they try to make it sound like he's going to die. Obviously, that's not going to happen.
No, he's going to sacrifice Shadow. Obviously, if Shadow's supposed to be the ultimate power, well, that's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yes, you would like that. You would like Shadow to just be written out
No,
of
I just want
existence
Shadow
from
to be
you.
funny. That's all I want out of this series. And I don't think I'm ever getting that.
I mean, you got it in Sonic Boom, you know? And
I
it got a little
barely
bit of
got
an
it in
Archie.
Sonic Boom.
But whenever Shadow did pop up, he was genuinely funny, I think. Like, he was a highlight whenever he was on screen, which was shame it couldn't have been more often.
Oh,
but
whenever Shadow's not on screen, everyone should be asking, "Where's Shadow?"
But so I saw some people on Twitter like speculating of like, does this mean Sonic is going to die or something? It's like, no, obviously not.
Yeah, he's gonna die. That's what's gonna happen to the rest of the series.
The main character is gonna pass away. That's what it is.
Now
we decided we're not going to make any more Sonic games, and this is the way that we decided to show you that.
Well, Ian Flynn did say that like it would become clearer how this fits into canon at the end. So, who knows?
I don't know. He says a lot of things about canon that are probably true, but are not meaningfully valuable.
Well, not to you.
Not
because you don't
anyone.
care about canon.
No, it's not that I don't care about canon. It's that, like, what in Sonic Prime actually going to impact outside of the context of Sonic Prime? Like, I don't have any confidence that it will.
Yeah,
maybe like it's a bottle episode and everyone's like trapped in Green Hill for some reason. That's why Green Hill is all we've seen. But at the end of it, like, it's gonna rewrite reality so that it's like not just Green Hill, but there's an entire world around Green Hill, and that's like it's the origin story of the creation of the entire Sonic universe.
No, my God, we've already gone in the past. This would be like creating a Zelda game that comes even farther before Skyward Sword. Like, no, you have your origin story. Quit going backwards. Tell a freaking story forwards about characters. We have enough lore in this series.
So, moving on to the other big piece of media news, Sonic 3 is finally beginning to film with actors. Yay.
No more puppets.
So, like, as we've discussed before, they have been filming the scenes for the Shigi characters since September, which is probably the primary reason why this thing has not been delayed yet. To be honest, I think it still might happen. Just like, I don't know, like, I just got like this gut feeling that something could still delay the production somehow.
It's always possible.
But,
like the first movie hit in February, and it did very well in February. So
yeah,
it isn't to say
and
like
this thing doesn't
get it out.
Although, like, December is a big time to release your movie, and at the moment, Sonic is going up against the Lion King prequel, which I think that could actually be good for it.
That's a live action Lion King prequel.
Well,
so
remember the original Lion King live action like made $1 billion, but I'm not sure people are necessarily hankering for like Mufasa's origin story or whatever this is going to be about. So, like,
I'm not going to go and speculate what people want or think about this live action Lion King. Like, I can tell you, I am not particularly interested in most of the live action Disney stuff, but that isn't to say like, oh, they could find an audience.
But like, So like December might be a prime time for it. So who knows? So like who knows? It might take a lot for them to delay. But regardless, so
That's
yeah.
not what you want to talk about.
No. What I'm wondering about is usually once they start filming this stuff, they like announce things regarding the actors, and we have not heard anything about Jim Carrey, and that's giving me probably false hope that he's not coming back for this one. Like I would think that if they're filming with the actors, that there's either going to be leaks or an announcement.
I think what he was saying was to get more money out of the project.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
It's Jim Carrey. Like he's weird to begin with. He's weird on the set. He's weird in his performance. If he says he really doesn't want to do another one of those, I can kind of believe it, but also I could see Paramount calling his bluff and saying, "Yeah, we're big enough that we may not need you at this point."
And I don't think they do, because the Sonic IP is doing pretty good right now.
I don't think they do, because they have an antagonist for the third one. He's called Shadow.
Yes, they have Shadow
without having Eggman.
They have Shadow. They have Agent Stone, whom they don't have to pay Jim Carrey levels of money. So I'm sure. So that it sounds like, hey, more money to put towards your Shadow celebrity voice actor, right?
Yeah, probably.
So we should be hearing something in the next few months. I would expect, like either through leaks or an announcement. But another thing we should expect to be hearing more from soon is the Knuckles series, which we finally know how long it's going to be, and it's not surprising to me. Thankfully, I've not seen a whole lot of surprise on the internet, because this is how this kind of television works. It's going to be 6 episodes long.
It feels like they're going for the, we'll say, Disney Plus model for something like this.
They're going for the prestige television format of super expensive episodes, because
the prestige Knuckles series.
Yes.
Perfect.
It stars a CG character voiced by a Hollywood actor. So it's gonna be expensive to produce. So 6 episodes makes sense. Of course, we still don't have a trailer. We still don't know when it's coming. If I had to guess, I would say next spring, March or April.
Right. We were originally expecting this year, so
yeah, we were expecting this year, but I'm thinking that they probably delayed it because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Not necessarily due to a production reason, but because we saw studios delaying a lot of films that were originally supposed to come out this year to next year, because when you can't make any movies for 6 months, that's going to leave a big hole in your schedule. So that could be what they did here.
It's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen, and it's yeah.
And I tried discussing with y'all and Dread and such about we're gonna do some kind of weekly discussion on this. I'm still just hoping you'll watch the show, GX, but I'm hoping we can get I can get Shigs and Dread on some kind of weekly thing for those 6 weeks. So.
No, I'm not going to be committal in any meaningful way.
You need to watch it.
No, you need me to watch it.
Yes, I need you to watch it, which means you need to watch it.
No, it's I guess my curiosity is, do you think this will play into the third movie itself?
Yes, I would hope so. That's why you would make a show like this, is to play into the third movie.
The synopsis of it does not really match.
I don't think the synopsis is going to be what the movie is ultimately about, or what the series is ultimately about. I think that's just hey, here's the hook here for what the first episode is, but I don't think that it's going to be it couldn't be primarily about those 2 characters. I don't necessarily think that is going to
I mean,
encompass the entirety
this
of
has
the
a
series.
this has a pretty large cast, including Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
So, like, my expectation is that it is going to be bigger than the initial premise, and we're going to get something that ties into the third movie. Like, not necessarily like something that's going to be like plot critical, like you need to know, but like how the MCU tends to do it, where they like introduce like kind of side stuff that can be reintroduced in a movie later. So like
my pitch
yeah.
is that the events of this one occur alongside the events of Sonic 3, Paramount Sonic 3, thus making the ultimate Sonic Adventure 2 reference.
No, but I have my actual my actual pitch up on Sonic Stadium. If you all want to look for it, at least I hope it's there. But like, I do hope that they use this to introduce some Sonic characters. At the very least, I want them to introduce Rouge. Like, we at least need. I would at least like to see Rouge introduced here in the Knuckles series.
I still just want them to have it be like to me, the thing it makes most sense for is just have it cover the events of Sonic Adventures. Like, Sonic Adventure is...
That is technically my pitch from Sonic
Yeah,
Stadium.
I mean, yeah. Are we going to discuss the logo for Sonic 3?
What's to discuss?
I mean, I guess
curious.
It does reference Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh,
so.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
That's neat.
Resemble Sonic Adventure 2 logo very closely.
How much more do you want to talk about this logo, Jason?
That was pretty much the extent.
I'm glad we took this side trip.
I do hope that like Sega uses this as an excuse to get Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and maybe Heroes onto modern platforms through like a Sonic 3D Jam compilation or something.
Do you want to risk them somehow making another worse port of those two games?
Ideally, they will make a better port. Like, it doesn't have to be a worse port.
We have enough versions of these to form a trend line, Alex, and that trend line does not go up.
Look, I just want these games to be available on modern platforms outside of the Xbox. I don't think that's too much to ask. Xbox and PC. Like, it's nice that I can play these on Steam Deck, but I'd like to be able to play these things in a way that doesn't require me to, like, install a bunch of mods to make them better.
I mean, there hasn't been a Sonic game yet a Sonic game on, we'll say, recent years that I haven't had to install a couple mods to make it better.
What does Sonic Frontiers need?
A 100% completed save file.
That's not a mod, GX. That's just a save file.
I'm going to call it a mod, and you can't stop me.
Better DLC, even though I guess they did.
But moving on. So we have one piece of Sonic Dream Team news that we should discuss outside of the game itself, and that is the confirmation from Sega Hardlight of post-launch content. Now, I have discussed this before, my hopes that of potential post-launch content, and so I'm very happy to just have it outright confirmed already. I personally do expect that we'll probably be getting like some kind of new story DLC, but
yeah, new level.
We'll discuss that part. We can discuss that when we discuss the game. But go on.
I was gonna say either that or unlockable characters through Tails challenges or something like that.
I'm not convinced about anything regarding unlockable characters. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream.
No, I think the unlockable characters are definitely going to happen.
I do not. I think we might get costumes in the same way that we get costumes for other Sonic games these days, especially the Hardlight mobile ones. I
think we'll get new characters through story content. I think we'll get new characters just outside of that get the bare minimum in terms of production values, but are still like playable in the same mold as the existing characters, which is something that Sega Hardlight does in their other games.
But Sega Hardlight also does not in their other games voice act characters.
True. But like I don't know, like all they really have to do, all they really have to do for the in-game characters is just give them a line or two and then lots of grunts. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was just within the game's post-launch budget, especially from Apple.
I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe one additional world and maybe some costumes for things. And like my justification for that is by and large what they did for Sonic Racing. Like Sonic Racing's post-launch content was they added classic Sonic and that was it.
Well, Sonic Racing I think was also a very different project in terms of scope.
Sonic Racing seemed to be the thing that made them invest in this game, as far as I can tell.
but the actual game, as far as I could tell, is just a monetized game that got unmonetized for Apple Arcade.
But
this was something made from the ground up for it.
Sure, but was also, it had to turn those higher resolution characters and gameplay aspects and tracks into something that could work on an Apple Arcade platform.
I think just going by how much they've already invested in this, this is probably something that's going to be a more long-term project for them.
I'm not as convinced. I'm more convinced. Like, hey, I don't think Apple wants to keep funding this forever. It doesn't seem
they don't
to
have to
be
fund it forever. They could just it could just be like pre-existing funds that will keep content coming for another year.
I guess
maybe a year.
But anyway, like we can discuss that a little more in depth during the actual game discussion. So moving on, Sonic Superstar sales were weaker than expected, according to Sega. Now, last show we did discuss how it managed to place 9th in the American Circonic Sharks, but also only sold 4,000 units in Japan. So, like, Dig solidly in the U.S. was an absolute disaster in Japan. I've not heard anything about its European performance.
They put it out in the same week as a brand new Mario and Spider-Man.
Which they did specifically say, yeah, we probably released it. We probably released it at the wrong time to fully maximize sales or something like that. So the exact quote from Haruki Satomi, the Sega Sammy Holdings president, was Sonic Superstars was released in October, which is a slightly weaker start than we had anticipated. But in reality, when Sonic IP sells the most, mainly November and December, and more than 90% of this title's marketing costs will be spent in Thanksgiving holiday season and from November onwards. So they do expect it to recover this month. I guess we'll see. Although Sonic Frontiers, they released that in November proper.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the Famitsu numbers, and yeah, they were dire. Like they were bad. I think in the US it at least charted top 10, but
yeah, it did. We talked about not 9.
Yeah, and yeah, it's worrisome. I don't know. I guess the worry that I always have is how are they going to interpret that? The worry is, will they interpret it as, well, we can't make classic Sonic games. Like that's the concern.
I think it's more like they can't make classic Sonic games at a full, $60 price tag.
I think it's more that Sonic still is not
with some serious competition,
I think it's more likely that they will take away from this that Sonic cannot just release directly against Mario and Spider-Man, unlike the two biggest video game platforms.
Yeah, I mean, and this particular, normally Mario 2D platformers aren't quite as good as the Sonic ones, but in this case, it just mopped the floor with it.
Oh, hard disagree.
Quite a bit.
I agree with Shigs.
The new Super Mario Brothers hater. I don't really care for that series too much.
But like, yeah, like releasing within days of two major platform exclusives was in hindsight a big mistake, I think. And I got to imagine that in the future, Sega would probably just move their release date if that happens again.
It also, it certainly did not get the degree of marketing push that they did for Frontiers. Frontiers, they marketed the crap out of, whereas Superstars, like, it was around, it made it to events, they had it on shows, but it did not feel like their marketing was as thorough, especially for Japan. Like, we saw.
Well, I've got to imagine that Frontiers probably also just had a bigger budget on the whole.
Oh yeah, for certain.
Yeah,
there's no possible way it didn't.
But so regardless of its sales, we're already getting our first post-release content, which this is starting to become a trend because we got a Sonic Superstars Sonic Christmas skin, just like we did for Frontiers last year. And
right.
I haven't downloaded it yet, but I know someone on staff took pictures for Twitter.
Yeah,
and the site.
Yeah, I did. But yeah, it's fine. It's everything that you'd expect it to be. It does not have any unique features. I did not notice like any unique animations associated with it. It doesn't have like the voxel version in the digital stage. It just reverts back to voxel Sonic.
That's true of most of them.
Not Rabbit. Rabbit has a unique name, it has unique animations, and it has a unique voxel version. It also does not have the chili dog Easter egg. I specifically tried to test for that, and it does not. Only Lego Sonic and regular Sonic do.
Oh, and did you try Supersonic?
I've never tried Supersonic. That assumes that. How do you? You'd have to get Supersonic to that point in the stage specific. Oh, you mean test Supersonic?
I mean, did you like get 50 rings and then turn to Supersonic?
Oh,
My
no.
expectation would be that the hat would just disappear.
No,
and my other question is, does the hat bounce at all? Or is it gets completely stiff?
I did not focus on it that thoroughly.
Okay, all right. Well, I was just wondering if they like gave us any Sonic Christmas hat physics.
I don't believe so.
All right. So Sonic Superstars was not the only Sonic game to get an update for Christmas, because Sonic Frontiers got a surprise patch that corrected and changed a lot of aspects of Update 3, which I was not expecting. Apparently, according to the director, Satomi, I forget his name, but according to the director, like, a customer contacted them about and asked them to fix a glitch, and he and a small team decided that while they were fixing that glitch, they were going to do all this other stuff. And so they ended up basically just going into Morio Kishimoto. And so they ended up like going into Update 3 and
they basically
changing
just
a lot of things.
did a difficulty balance revision on a lot of things.
So for King Coco's trial, they adjusted the Sonic's perfect parry timing across all difficulties, especially easy difficulty, where it's like 10 seconds now. I think it's finally at a point where it's just gonna work for you. You know, it's basically just like a vanilla boss rush now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump back into this to try it. I've seen videos where highly leveled up Tails can take out a boss in like 2 hits.
But the changes specific to easy mode are that they changed the design of the trial towers, which kind of surprised me because on easy mode the trial towers were already really easy. The trials for the 4 Coco Masters were made easier, with Sonic's attack power getting adjusted. And in addition to the perfect parry, King Coco's trial also gives you 600 rings and makes the Titans weaker. And so, like, sounds like easy mode is gonna be a cakewalk now.
Well, you're still getting through all 3 of those boss fights with all of their lengthy animations and waiting for parry opportunities, which, is kind of still my complaints about it.
I mean, I don't know. Once I switched it to easy mode went back pre-patch, I was able to beat it in, like, I think 2 or 3 tries. But
that's not really confidence building to me.
So, like, with this new parry, I could probably just do it in one easy.
It's not for me. It's not even just the parry stuff. It's just like they spent more time worrying about all the animations for these bosses. Like, we have big anime sequences of giant swords and them swinging at you, without really putting. It doesn't feel like they put nearly as much thought into. Okay, how do you play this? Is it fun to play this? Is it satisfying to play this? That's where I still have issues for. And, like, if you're going to time me across 3 of these, then without checkpoints, then I don't know, speed it up. Get rid of these big flashy animations.
So moving on to the things that span across all difficulties, they address, like, my pet peeve and one of the most obvious examples of them just not playtesting this thing before it came out. They made the pink panels on Tower 2 actually respawnable.
That's certainly where I decided to say, F this game, I'm going to cheat my way to the end.
When I posted that video of this, all these people were responding with, like, images of them, like, walking along those, like, the little thin platforms that the pink panels were on.
I mean, if I wanted to have a bad time, I could do that. I did not want to do that.
And, like, I just reload the goddamn save file, which was still a big pain in the butt. But yeah, like, so the pink panels respawn now, and I tested them out, and they responded basically instantaneously. So Tower 2 is now very doable for me. Like, if I mess up, it's not that big of a deal anymore.
I'm glad that they made it so that you can actually play it. Great, perfect. Look, I still don't like the expansion. Like, just understand, to anyone listening, my attitude is I did not like the expansion when I came out. I still do not like the expansion. They could do whatever they want with the difficulty. I still don't like any of the content that they made for the Sonic aspects of it. The other character aspects of it, yeah, it's cool. It's neat. The Sonic aspects, they're just recycling content in a way that is less interesting than it was the first time.
Yeah.
And speaking of the other character content, they also made it so that the other characters' techniques now level up with their stacks. And so like, I've gone from, like, I've gone from battling these enemies for, like, 5 to 10 minutes, desperately trying to kill them without dying, to destroying them in a couple of hits. Like, they are made out of paper mache now for the maxed out characters, and it kind of makes me want to, like, start a new save file for this just to see what it's like to battle these things with, like, mid-level stacks. But so, like, yeah, like, they've probably overcorrected on that front. Hello?
There's no middle ground.
Yeah,
No, I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no middle
Everyone's
ground.
being
Made it
unusually
too
quiet.
hard or too easy.
I mean, what do you want from me? The only thing I'm gonna do here is just complain about the game and how it was. Like, is that what you want from me? Because I haven't gone back to this patch. I probably will not go back to this game until I am obligated to.
Yeah, that's another reason why you need to really get almost every Sonic restarted.
Because, I was at a certain point where I couldn't get any further. So if I can get further now, then I'll give it a shot.
Like you can definitely get further at least on easy mode. So, like it sounds like easy mode. Like you're just not going to have any issues now. So another kind of fun general fix that they probably should have had like a year ago is cyberspace changes will now reset your time if you die without hitting a checkpoint, which I will personally appreciate because I definitely dig sometimes like skip checkpoints in the hopes of if I died, it'll just like send me to the beginning with a 0 time thing. Apparently, but just it did not do that, and so I'm glad they fixed that. And finally, the patch fixes some audio glitch that caused audio not to play during sub events, which I never encountered. But also, Knuckles' glide is good now.
Thank goodness.
Like they've eliminated the wind-up time, and they've significantly improved his turning. So now he basically controls like he did in the adventure games. Like it is like night and day for him now.
It was just so dumb.
It was very weird. It was a very, very weird choice.
Like honestly, I think stuff like that is just kind of evident of like they have not touched these characters in a while, and I don't know. I guess the institutional knowledge is just no longer there. Maybe they think they can do better than Sonic Adventure now. I don't know.
I'm not going to speculate why they chose to give him this bizarre animation beyond the reason that I have for the entire game, which is the entire game seems obsessed with over-the-top animations that are, time demanding and don't really need to be.
So, I purposefully skipped the Game Awards this year. A small part of me wishes I didn't, because I missed a very cool announcement, which was Sega announced 5 retro revivals. Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Streaks of Rage. And we know basically nothing about any of them, aside from the fact that Shinobi looks really cool and is in 2D. And
we got tiny clips of them, which is maybe more intriguing. See where they're going.
Most of the other games seem to have some kind of multiplayer component.
Yeah, it looks like an interesting thing. I guess the big issue I have right now is I'm not convinced that all 5 of these games will make it to market.
I'm just not convinced that all 5 of these games are going to be good.
Oh,
like Shinobi,
sure.
Shinobi just looking at it, I have a lot of faith in Shinobi just from the simple fact that it looks like Shinobi. It looks really cool, and like
it looks
like it's probably from a different dev. Go on.
It looks like at least some amount of continuation from the 3DS game that they released.
Yes, the really good 3DS game, one of my favorite 3DS games, and like I don't know if this is. I doubt this is from the same dev team, but like I guess Sega made a really good, a great Shinobi game like a decade ago. So hopefully they found someone to make another great one.
We know
Crazy Taxi. Yeah.
We know that they've been at least poking at the concepts of Jet Set Radio for a while, at least since they were poking at the ideas of Sonic Frontiers. So,
so Jet Set Radio, we know that this game was in development of some sort, at least since 2021, because we got this video trailer leak that was from 2021 that showed Jet Set Radio alongside Frontiers and Persona 3 Remake, and it had the same character design and stuff that we see in the final trailer. So I'm guessing this is a continuation of whatever they were doing back then. And that does look pretty cool from a little we've seen. We can see Beat, grinding. You can see him like swinging on a light pole. So it looks like there's like some kind of Jet Set Radio tricks and stuff in there. And I don't see any sign of multiplayer, which means that even though this is apparently from Sega's Games as a Service division, and it's one of their super games, maybe it's also just a proper Jet Set Radio, and also its original creators are involved, which also does give me some hope that this will actually be pretty good.
Yeah, the super game aspect is weird, and
Give
it's
me
gonna.
Hideki Naganuma on the soundtrack, or give me death.
I hope they got Hideki Naganuma.
Well, I'm less enthused.
What?
Naganuma?
Listen.
Do you not know about what went on with him?
No, apparently I don't.
He was a massive creep on Twitter, whether for legitimate reasons or for putting on a persona, and that it complicates my feelings about some of his prior prior soundtracks, or at least him continuing to work on the franchise. Uh, Either jokingly or you know what, this is a good conversation to have offline, but I will suffice to say
probably.
he was a big creep on Twitter, and uh that complicates my feelings.
All right. Well, any case, so Crazy Taxi, we know that's multiplayer. That's also a game that is apparently being done by Sega's Games as a Service division. And we can see this in the trailer. There's multiple taxis. There's a police car chasing the taxis, and so we know there's at least some kind of heavy multiplayer component. My expectation is that it's going to have I don't know, maybe like a Fortnite style buying crazy taxi skins and stuff. That'd be my expectation. Because out of all these games that they've announced, Crazy Taxi is the one that I feel like they would have the most difficult time bringing in as a $60 AAA title.
Well,
because
that's why
it's a very basic premise.
That's why I'm honestly legit. So I'm trying to think of okay, how would this play into their whole super game concept? Because there was a recent presentation that's basically Sega and Rovio had joint, because Rovio apparently has their own little press conference / I don't know, convention, whatever you want to call it, where they had one of the Sega brand managers on, who was discussing Super Game as a concept just very briefly, and they compared it more to something like a Roblox. I believe that was one of their fundamental comparisons. Now, admittedly, everyone wants to have a Roblox. Clearly, Fortnite wants to have a Roblox, considering what they just put in for their services between the Not Rock Band
no
and the
game,
racing game and
yeah.
I mean, I doubt this means that they're making a Crazy Taxi Roblox. I suspect that what they are talking about is stuff that they've talked about before for the Super games, which is they want to be like a continuous. They want to be like a recurring monetary.
Well, that's
stream.
That's the thing I'm wondering about. Well, number one, I am deeply nervous about making all of these games service games, because we can look at what's happening to all service games in the industry right now, between Destiny going through major problems and Sony canceling a lot of their service games. What happened to Halo Infinite, and how that's not
all of these games are service games, like Shinobi games. And the only two that are confirmed to even be from that segment of Sega is Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi.
So it makes me wonder, or rather than if these are supposed to be part of service game, which we know sort of some of them, they are hinting towards that. Not that super game means anything authentic, but let's pretend for a sec that it does. Let's assume that these are part of it. That almost seems like it would imply that Super Game itself might be the platform that these games could exist on. Just if I were to sort of...
So it's like a larger service where you can buy, where you can play Sega games.
Who knows? None of us know, because this is all poorly defined nonsense, and they're not really talking about it very much.
Yeah.
But I am trying to think of, okay, how do you make a Jet Set Radio work in 2023, 2024, 2025 and sell it on a marketplace in order to make money? Like the sales argument is difficult unless it's like a really impressive game. And maybe it might not work on its own, but it could possibly work as part of something bigger, question mark?
I mean, that
Uh,
certainly would make more sense for Streaks of Rage and Golden Axe. Like,
Yeah,
like Golden Axe.
nobody's buying Golden Axe. Like we've
Yeah,
seen
well,
the
Like,
history.
they tried reviving Golden Axe
Yeah,
before, and it was just a disaster. Like, the IP just does not have any power beyond
Arguably, the source
being
material
Genesis
is
filler
also
at
not
this point.
good.
And it's not something for 3D. It's just never has been. It's never worked in as a 3D.
Well, I
game.
think Golden Axe could very easily work in 3D, but
I mean,
Not
it
the way
could,
that
but
they
the
previously
history-
tried.
yeah.
The history says otherwise.
Well, history also
Well,
says that
history was one game.
history also didn't need 3 Genesis Golden Axe games.
But like it certainly would make more sense to me, like how they could revive certain games like Crazy Taxi if it's part of like some kind of big umbrella game. But I don't know, like
I just had to
Pers-
laugh. I just had to laugh when they pitched it as we want to go back to our Dreamcast energy, and from my perspective, it's like what, and not make any money.
but like I will say, I like the idea of a multiplayer Crazy Taxi where you're being chased by the cops and competing with other taxis for fares. I think that sounds like a very fun idea.
It could
Like
be.
that sounds like the perfect way to upgrade
Actually-
Crazy Taxi's existing like high-speed arcade action for a modern audience. So that I am interested in that one specifically as an online multiplayer game. Jet Set Radio, not so much. Jet Set Radio I want something single player centric.
I think you could. I think you could
I
do
could
it.
see that Set Radio as multiplayer if you're focusing on competing gangs and stuff.
I mean, that is technically what the original games had, was competing gangs. But
Okay,
like it was also like engaging platforming challenges and stuff like that.
okay, hear me out. It's Jet Set
Yeah.
Radio, but it's a MOBA.
I'm going no, shush, no.
Ugh.
But in Streaks of Rage, I don't know. We saw like 10 seconds of that, but I like the neon. I like the look of the neon dance floor. And Streaks of Rage is one of those games that I've always thought could work perfectly fine in 3D. Like Die Hard Arcade is basically just Streaks of Rage in 3D. I don't know why they didn't just make it that
Sure,
to begin with.
Streets of Rage is one of those things where it's like we got like the biggest worry that I have is that we got a new Streets of Rage, and the new Streets of Rage is very good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Just got
but that's
one.
honestly that's probably a good one good reason why this is in 3D, because at least it's not like going to be like that game. It's going to be its own thing. So I don't know.
I am wary like the Streets of Rage and the Golden Axe are the two that I'm most wary of. Crazy Taxi, I think they could make something fun and interesting, but like you mentioned on the outright, it would be probably a difficult sell. But, maybe, I don't know, it's a weird marketplace right now, and trying to envision any of these games in the place that the industry is in right now is just nonsensical. Like, I can't picture these doing better than, like, a Devolver indie, in air quotes, indie game. A Devolver download-only game, we'll say.
Yeah. Shigs, what were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, like GX was saying, we already had a fantastic Streets of Rage. It's going to be hard to top that in particular. And I don't know. I did not know originally that this was going to be a games as a service thing. I
Well,
thought it was just
we
gonna
don't
be
know.
more independent.
Let's not.
It's
Oh,
just an
you're saying
assumption.
What you're saying is assumption. All right.
Well, what we know is that these are being talked about alongside the Super Game. Have they actually confirmed, like, no, these are part of Super Game?
Yeah, they have said these are part these are the part of the super games. At least they've confirmed Crazy Taxi is at the very least.
We're trying, yeah, we're basically trying to do some math here on basic, like, well, if one thing is super game and they are saying super game is like this, then this must be super game, and I guess the real answer is super game doesn't mean anything and is absolutely an absolutely questionable term that they keep throwing around that they should really stop throwing around.
Like super game, it seems like that's just supposed to be something with global appeal and
like
recurring
that.
revenue. Those are the two things.
Something like that.
That's
so like
hyperbolic word salad, if you ask me.
It sure is, isn't it?
Now, the trailer does also end in saying that and more revivals are coming. And so I have two questions. One, who's making the existing games?
Yep.
Like, apparently, like, we have confirmation, it seems, that two of these are being made at least somewhat internally at Sega. But I can't imagine that they have the development capacity to do, like, these 5 games plus more, which are apparently in development.
Well, I mean, based on what we know, I'm thinking something like, and there were rumors going around that I'm going to try to push off to the side and say my assessment is not based on these rumors. Given what we've seen of Jet Set Radio, I would be most inclined to believe that that would be the one that's most farthest along at this point, especially with them. I believe that was the first they showed off in the trailer.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that. Good. Then I wasn't. I would say something like, given the scope of what Shinobi looks like, and the fact that, like, okay, we were looking at level design there, I would be more inclined to think, like, that's somewhere in maybe next year? Whereas everything else, I would not expect to see until 2025, personally. That's where I'm at least sitting with it, that I don't think all of this stuff can be... It can't all be simultaneous. It can't be. It seems, to me, I would look at this and think, these are all... There's a couple things that are possible. Number one, there is going to be a staggered release of these... Not like all at once, because that would be stupid. You would be competing with yourself. But also, it would make sense for them to spread things out, and it makes sense for some of these to be farther along than others. Some of these would also make a lot of sense working with external partners. Even if they're saying, like, hey, internal Sega. I don't know if I would believe that all of these are internal Sega.
I mean, it's certainly possible that Jet Set Radio just has the original creators involved of working with an external team.
Sure. And hopefully, I would like to believe that maybe they might have commissioned the people who made Streets of Rage 4 to brainstorm ideas on how to put that in 3D and make it under Sega Publishing.
Fingers crossed on that one. That would be a great idea. But, so, personally, I think that, I think we might at least get, like, say, Shinobi next year. Because, I don't know, I thought that one looked like it seemed pretty far along from what we saw.
My money's on Shinobi and Jet Set Radio. If I had to put money on two of them, I think it's those
One
two.
thing that would also not surprise me is if there are other games, is that the other games in development, maybe we don't like. I suspect that just looking at Shinobi, that these games may all be different in scope. Some of them may be smaller in scope, and like maybe they'll get announced next year and released next year. Like there has technically been a rumor of Comic Zone being in development and coming next year. Now that's a rumor that I don't know how reliable that is. I guess know that My Nintendo News reported on or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there were a couple rumors for other things as well. I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. You probably know better than I do.
I just knew about these plus Comic Zone and Yeah, I think that's it.
I thought there was one of their RPG series that was mentioned as well.
Well, I don't think. Well, that'd be like Skies of Arcadia, I guess. But I haven't really
No, it was
heard
a
much on
different
that.
one. I would have to look into what the rumors were. I don't
All
recall.
right. Now, so according to Sega, we have Sonic to thank for these revivals. That's how, for these revivals. And given how long some of these have been developed, my expectation is that we probably have Sonic to thank for these things not being canceled.
Or rather, just, Sega staying in business? Question mark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know.
Look, they're not
like-
they're not leaning in the 2020s. They weren't leaning hard into the resort part of their industry.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. Sonic's been doing well enough that it's given Sega the capacity to revive more franchises.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
And well, not only that, but like Michael for Numbers over in YouTube chat reminds us. Meanwhile, Yakuza, like they're like, despite the fact that the former director of that studio left recently, they're pumping out an absurd number of Yakuza games. They're like at what,
one a
year
year
at this point?
Oh yeah, we got that samurai game earlier this year, didn't we?
Yeah, we got Ishen. We got the man who stands. No, wait, the man without a name. Is he man without something? Forgot his name.
The man who erased his name.
The excuse to
everybody knows who he
bring
is.
the protagonist back.
Yeah, the man who tried to erase his name, but everybody knows exactly who he is, and he can't get her away from it.
And then we have the next upcoming game, which is going to be massive and include an Animal Crossing.
Oh my god. So, moving on to another, I guess, live service thing. Rovio might be making a Sonic game or something, or a Sonic crossover. GX, you covered this.
So
I imagine it's a Sonic mobile game, if anything.
So they were being playful about it. They certainly do not have anything to announce at this point, but they are sort of, exploring like what are the ways that Rovio could make games or use Sega IP in some interesting way, or, just straight up have a crossover. There were a couple different takes from people reporting on the conference or convention or whatever it was at the time. It's like Rovio plus Google 2023 or something like that. With the general sentiment being they are interested, but they are not really ready to announce something publicly yet. One of the sources that I looked at was reporting a very optimistic take on that, where they were just saying, yeah, they have stuff planned, and I could not find any other evidence to actually back that up. But it does seem like there's an amount of interest there. Like there was a big brand board there. It was like, hey, look at all of Sega's franchises, from PSO2 to Yakuza, which is weird that because they actually wrote Yakuza instead of Like a Dragon. Sonic the Hedgehog, Angry Birds, Persona 5, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Total War, Football Manager, Company of Heroes, Warhammer, Hospital, or 2 Point Hospital. Presumably also the other 2 Point ones.
You could very easily they could very easily just make a Sonic Angry Birds game. Like,
I mean,
they launch the Sonic characters as balls.
They've done it with Star Wars. They've done it with Transformers. They've done it with that Rio movie. I think that's the only ones I remember. There's not anything keeping them from doing like an Angry Birds Sonic. I just figure like, is that the right move for that? Is that the move they want to do? Is it?
It would seem pretty pointless to me, if I'm being honest, because no one talks about Angry Birds anymore. I guess mechanically it could work. Like, just replace the pigs with badniks, and launch the Sonic characters as balls, and each one of them like do a different thing when you launch them.
Look, like I said, they did it with Transformers. I don't think fitting nature of mechanics has ever been a concern for Rovio.
So, moving on to this really cool fan project, Project Shadow. So this came out just over the weekend. We got a trailer for a fan film that is effectively based on like the Sonic movies. It uses like Shadow's Sonic movie design, and it looks really, at least from a technical standpoint, it looks really good.
I will agree with that statement. It is very technically impressive. There is a lot of effort going on here.
Like, I'm probably not pronouncing his name correctly. So Project Shadow is a fan short film by Brazilian CG animator and aspiring filmmaker João Felipe Santiago, and it basically just retells Shadow's origin story. And so the trailer, it uses an original song. It gives us kind of a look at Shadow and Maria and Gerald Robotnik and some stuff said on the Ark. And it all just looks really cool to me. Like, as far as fan projects go, like, we've never really gotten anything quite like this before. And, like, it really is just showing us how far both fan talent and technology has gotten. And so, like, the final movie is coming out in just a few days on December 16th. I'm at least going to get Shigs to watch it and know how you are about fan stuff, GX. So, like, but Shigs, I need you to watch it so we can discuss it.
There are certain fan things that I am drawn to. This is not one of them. I can appreciate the technical merit in it. I can appreciate that whoever is doing this cares an awful lot about what they're doing. But considering my general attitude towards the Paramount stuff, the general tone of this particular trailer, and the ways in which it seems to be approaching Shadow as a character, there ain't nothing here for me. Like, it just ain't.
I mean, you also just don't like Shadow unless he's in Sonic Boom.
Yeah, Shadow's... It's... They never find anything interesting to do with him. And
hopefully that will change soon.
I like him okay in Sonic Prime. I think they'd do okay with him there.
He's okay.
I like him.
He's fine.
I love him in Archie. And I still have a soft spot for him in Sonic Adventure 2, even though the story is kind of stupid. Like, I appreciate what they tried to do.
In 2002, that was a pretty okay story. And
I really enjoy his design, even still. I like the spikes. I like his color scheme. I enjoy his entire look. And I really enjoy how he looks in this fan short. Like, I'm hoping that the movie, I don't know. I'm hoping that the movie at least has him looking this good.
They're going to go back to the old design of Sonic and design Shadow in that format.
So, Shigs, do you have any thoughts on the trailer?
From a technical standpoint, like you said, it looks very impressive. So I am interested in checking out the short and seeing how it is. I mean, you can do a lot with, technical special effects in that, but can you tell a compelling story, and can you tell something that'll be interesting?
I think the basic mechanics of Shadow's backstory should allow for a compelling story, provided that the person telling the stories has that talent, which, frankly, Sonic Team didn't. I'm hoping that the Sonic movie people will, because otherwise, woof. And I don't know, I don't know anything about this guy, so hopefully he has that talent as well.
But you do know about Sonic Adventure 2 art. Or Sonic Adventure art. I don't know.
Yes! Satoshi Okano. has been releasing a lot of his concept art lately. I covered the first batch of it, but he has since released more over the weekend, which I've not gotten to. But it's just, it's always cool getting behind the scenes stuff. And probably the coolest thing about this is that, one, like, we got our full look at this really, like, nothing character from Sonic Adventure who only ever appeared in the billboards. We noticed her, I think, like 10 years ago or something. So, like, oh, hey, that looks like a Thank-Throw character. I didn't think any of those were in this game. But, okay, there's this one. Turns out, like, she had this whole design, and she's, like, this spider girl. And now I want her to appear in IDW. Although, I suspect that there is probably, like, Sega probably doesn't own the rights to the character or something, so I doubt that's possible.
Who knows? It's an unusual scenario. It's neat, I guess. Yeah, it's neat to see this kind of thing. It's cool to get his old concept art.
It's possibly a prototype of Rouge.
I doubt that. In fact, I think he said that that she isn't connected. I think he has said before that she's not connected to Rouge. Like, apparently, basically, like, what he would do is he just kind of doodled fan art alongside the concept art. And I guess she somehow found her way into the game, because another character that he kind of created was this character that he repurposed from another game that he worked on called Astro Go-Go Racers or something. He took this bat-like character, he, like, turned him into Fly the Bat. And he, like, and the concept art includes art of this character alongside the other Sonic characters, and, like, climbing up a building in his own platforming scene.
I get these particular vibes of, like, have you ever seen the mascot for Sega's baseball team?
It's a bee, right?
No, it's this weird Ristar looking character. He looks like what if Ristar was in the world of modern Sonic. That's the kind of vibe I get from the whole deal.
And so we also got some Sonic Jam concept art, and we got some which I don't know. It's just like a look at, like, some concepts for the buildings from Sonic World. But I guess even cooler is we also look at concepts for Eggman's room, including him just, like, smoking a cigar up in his up in, like, this little chamber or something.
Yeah, it looked interesting enough. I mean, it's most of the sketches that they showed there did come to fruition, except for a few.
I like how he even has a whole picture for his like speech room.
It's neat. There's only so much we can discuss about art.
Yeah.
about fancy new sketches in podcast format.
Yep. So now we're going to move on to the main event, or I guess the first half of the main event, which is Sonic Dream Team discussion. So, I'm going to start off, and then I'm going to move on to one of y'all, and then we'll move on to the next of y'all, and then I guess we'll, like, maybe have some back and forth, or I don't know. I'm sure you guys will interrupt me within 5 seconds of starting. But okay,
I think you're wrong. It's
Sonic
stupid.
Dream Team. Sonic Dream Team. I really enjoyed this game. It's like it's a little basic in terms of moveset, in terms of level design, but it achieves something that, like, I've only ever really experienced in the fan games before, which is just like, it's got this really spectacular flow to the whole thing. Like, it is like it is really fun to just blast through these levels, hitting springs, homing in on enemies and rails, and and just like just blasting to the end of the stage. Like it kind of gives me Sonic Adventure 2 vibes, except everything just feels much more smooth and polished, and it's just like it's been kind of addicting for me, like in a way, kind of like how Sonic GT was for me. Like I went back to that game a lot when I first played it a couple stages ago, and this feels like something that I'm going to be going back to a lot too. Like, especially since it's just on my iPad, and I guess and I can just like connect a PS5 controller to it whenever, and just play through it some more. And like I have lots of fun with all and like the game has lots of missions to go through that challenge you in lots of different ways. Like there are missions where you gotta like run through rings in a certain span of time. There's missions where you just have to like get through to a specific goal ring in a certain amount of time, and like it just feels so right for a speedy platformer like Sonic, for it to just be like centering its alternative challenges around time, around like just getting through the level fast. And given how fun the game is just to go through, like it's really easy for me to just go through these missions, just one by one, just knocking them out. Like I can very easily see myself 100%ing this once I'm done with Sage. And like for me, the only real big issues I have with this game, like the first one is just that. Like I said, the moveset's kind of limited. And so there's no spin dash, there's no bounce. Like you have homing attack, you have boost, and you have like a
character
like
specific.
A special move.
Yeah, like
Sonic and Amy can like speed. Sonic and Amy can like speed dash, which it's effectively just like a homing attack type move, which, if I'm being honest, like that's just the best. It's just the best way I've seen the like speed dash handled.
Sure, yeah.
In a Sonic game,
they've found a way to make that more reasonable to work with compared to.
Yes.
And of course, Sonic and Cream can glide, and Tails and Rouge can. Sonic and Cream can fly, and Knuckles and Rouge can glide and climb.
Oh, I'm just getting the vision now of Cream taking her massive ears and just digging into wall as she climbs herself up.
I mean, why not? But my other issue, and really the bigger issue, the thing that would if this were a $60 game, this would be a bigger issue for me. But it's not. It's like a mobile subscription type game. The levels don't differentiate each other. Don't have any like big gimmicks to differentiate themselves from the other levels. Like it all kind of feels like iterations on on the same core gameplay themes just throughout the game. Like so like the best Sonic games have level specific mechanics that like will put a new spin on it and then are iterated, and then you're done and you move on to brand new mechanics that give each level their own identity. And like this game has a little bit of that. Like some games some levels use half pipes a little more. Like the Dream Factory level uses like these presses that send you up, and you can use them to jump up and get more height.
That shoots
Nightmare Zone does have those waterfalls, but like they don't really. They just kind of feel like they augment the experience more so than they feel like their own mechanics. Like, okay, like, I guess the coolest mechanic in the whole game, for me, is the gravity mechanics of Nightmare Zone, the third stage, where, like, instead of just running up half pipes or whatever, the game literally will just, like, shift the center of gravity. And that does allow for some neat level design tricks, so I guess there is that. But the game needed more, I think. But aside from that, it's a lot of fun. Like I'm very tempted to say I like this more than Frontiers. I don't know. I certainly wouldn't put it at the same level as Generations, obviously, or Adventure 2, or Colors. But it's still like in terms of like the non like boost heavy games, it's definitely up there for me. So who wants to go next?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I agree with you on the Frontiers part. I wasn't always a big fan of Frontiers. Now, one thing I gotta say is there's just last few episodes ago, maybe just a few months, I was saying that they could incorporate other Sonic characters if they give them similar movements and just add a little bit of tricks to them, and that's exactly what they're doing here.
Yeah,
and it's working perfectly.
Yeah, it feels great. Like, admittedly, I did have to change one thing. For the flight characters, like it feels really cool to be able to like be flying and then just home in on something. But that works better when I put the homing button just on the jump button, because then it just works contextually, and it just feels so good to pull off. And then when I can also do that with Knuckles and Rouge, it really does just feel great in a way. Like just having Tails being able to home in on something, that automatically just makes it better than what he could do in Frontiers, where like he just threw wrenches, which again, in a game that relies that heavily on a homing attack, just feels awkward. And this game proves that they didn't really need to do that.
Yeah, it's the 2D Sonic, level of play where here's the similar characters, give them similar moves, but give them something unique that's just theirs.
And this is also what? Okay. And it's also the first 3D Sonic game to properly implement multi-character play through the entire game, where you can go through the same level as different characters and just go through that level in different ways, get to different places. It gives you a reason to replay the game, to experience each level through those different characters, and it just works. It just works so well. Like this is superior to what the adventure games do by a mile. Like we don't need all the different gameplay styles. We can just have different iterations on Sonic, and this proves that concept can work great.
I mean, I would argue that Frontiers prove that, but sure, but they both sort of do.
Well, this does it throughout the entire game. Not just in the open zone.
This is a game where, except for the final level, you don't even need to play as Sonic throughout the entire experience if you don't want to.
Yeah, you just play as Amy. Okay. There was one other issue, but it's not an issue for me, but it's going to be an issue for other people. And that is that this game utilizes a mechanics, a level unlocking mechanic similar to like Super Mario Sunshine, where you need to gain a certain number of collectible of the dream spheres.
One might also compare it to something like a Sonic Unleashed.
Okay, or Sonic Unleashed, but you need to complete you need to complete enough missions to get enough dream orbs in order to advance further through the game.
Go back.
Yeah, and the requirement is a little high. Like, it's so high that it really does require you to do a lot of missions, including, like, if you don't like a certain mission type, you will have to do that mission type in order to advance. Like, you just will.
Yeah, so there is a lot of backtracking, and there's times, and I think that's fair, because there are some challenges that are, might be too hard for some people, and that way they can go back to a later level and get maybe an easier challenge to get an orb.
Yeah. Like that is a strategy that I employ.
I really enjoy the difficulty in this, because there's times where you could just play a fairly easy level, or there's stuff like some of the Tails challenges where you have to get to the end within a certain amount of time, and it can actually be really hard to do, if you're going straight forward with no mistakes.
This is probably like the first Sonic game I've played in eons where there's not this like crazy late game difficulty spike.
No. I'll say one thing, that the bosses are kind of, fairly easy to get through.
The second boss, I'll admit, is kind of on like the boring side.
It's too long. It has too many animations within it. It has you wait for times to attack. that take a while, which was the same
I mean,
problem
I
that
don't know.
Superstars had.
Like lots of Sonic bosses have done that.
I
Like
guess
that's no
that
different
does
than
seem
Sonic
familiar.
Adventure's Egg Viper.
Yeah, but even then, like, do you think of those as a
Yeah,
positive
that's no
step?
different
Like,
as something bad.
I
Isn't
really
this
enjoy
the
Egg
argument?
Viper, so yeah. Now, like Egg Viper's a way better boss fight than
but like, are you
this.
sitting here saying like, oh yeah, the bosses of Sonic Rush, they don't take for freaking ever?
I mean, I enjoyed most of those bosses. So, of
Ugh.
course, it's also been a while since I last played them, so I don't know. But like, so yeah. But one thing I did appreciate about the game's second and third bosses is that they are tailored to non-Sonic characters. So the second boss is Tails and Cream exclusive, and the third boss, which in my opinion is the best traditional boss in the game, is for Knuckles and Rouge. And that does and that one like messes with the gravity mechanics a bit. You have to you use your climbing to deal with that. But on the whole, though, like aside from the final one, the bosses aren't really like a highlight of the game. But I don't think they're especially bad either.
No, I mean, I faced a lot worse bosses in other Sonic games.
Yeah.
These ones are pretty much cakewalk for the most part. So at least they're not something that'll frustrate you over time.
The final
yeah,
boss has. Yeah.
Go ahead.
The final boss has some crazy spectacle, though. Like, it's basically just a level.
Right. It's just one long level for an Eggman boss. But yeah, I like that there's still going to be some support for him. Like, you can still do those Tails challenges, which you have to do in a week, but you can also, if you complete them, I think they change the next day. And then we have, what they say, like future support coming out for that. Plus, for a for a free, well, not exactly free, for subscription-based little mobile game, they did have some meat to it. It took about 3 hours, I think, to beat the main story, maybe 2.5 if you go.
It took me
pretty straight through.
it took me just short of 4 hours, but to be fair, I did replay some stuff on that save file, so I probably could have done a little less this time.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of levels to backtrack that you probably haven't finished yet, just for fun.
Now,
Plus, one Tails challenges.
One thing I do appreciate in terms of difficulty balancing is that, you kind of allude to this already, where, like, if you're having difficulties with the missions later in the game, the missions, more missions are unlocked earlier in the game that you can just go back to, and they're a lot easier. So, that's also a cool little design flaw. So you and I enjoy it, obviously. But, so GX, it's time.
It's time for what?
What did you think? It's time for you to talk about the game. Time for you to like go in depth on your thoughts.
It's fine. Like, it's fine. I certainly don't have the strong feelings about it that you do. Like, kind of the interpretation that I put together whenever I was streaming the first half of the game. And I'll be real here. I only really went through that first half of the game. I did not finish the game. This feels like a pretty solid early PS2 game. Like, in terms of its visuals, in terms of its level design, in terms of its mechanics, like, I would say I enjoyed it more than Frontiers, though I don't think it's as interesting as Frontiers. I think part of that is that
it definitely doesn't have a lot of depth. I'll give it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
That's something we do all have to agree with. But I don't think that a 3D Sonic game necessarily needs a whole lot of depth to be a lot of fun.
And it's something we kind of knew going in, that this was a mobile game. We're not going to get into.
Like, basically, like what I was thinking about, because I'm quite sure I'm reviewing this game. Hopefully, I can get that written up tomorrow. When I was thinking about the scores, I was thinking, okay, if this was a $60 game, I would probably give this like
okay, take
3.5 or 4 stars.
Take price out of the equation. If you took price out of the equation, what would you say?
Well, taking price out of the equation, I would give it 4.5 stars. Like that
out of
like
5 is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like just as a purely mobile experience, it's just like if this was only on the cell phones and I wasn't playing it on TV, I would just give it the full 5 stars. But that's not how a lot of people are going to play it. So like, it's either going to be 4 or 4.5 stars from me. So like, and that's kind of why I'm unsure whether or not I like it more than Frontiers, because like Frontiers is just a very different game, and while Frontiers is a game that I don't think I'm going to be replaying much, like I still had a lot of fun going through the main story, you know, collecting everything, doing all the challenges and bosses and stuff. But this one I feel like is going to have much more staying power with me because it scratches that same itch that Sonic Adventure 2 does. Like, I still go back to Sonic Adventure 2 now. Like, whenever I just need, like, a quick hit of a fun game, I go back to that and I try to, like, improve a run on a stage. And that feels like something I'm gonna be doing with Dream Team.
And that's and that's at least, you know, that's the continuous like disconnect that you and I have with these types of games, is that the people that I'm hearing going most ecstatic about it are the people who are like, well, I could replay this and I can go for a better time and I could do an even better time. It's like, I don't give a crap about any of that. Like, that does nothing for me. So I'm looking at this game as
honestly, I'm shocked that you are a Sonic fan with that mindset.
But that's the thing about Classic Sonic. Classic Sonic, yeah, there's replayability, but it's not replayability about optimizing a run necessarily. It's replayability about trekking through these big, complex levels, mastering this unusual movement system, and like digging out secrets throughout the levels. And it's certainly somewhere that Superstars falls flat a little bit. And
I definitely don't think that Superstars has much in terms of secrets aside from optimizing your run and like, because there are plenty of different paths you can take in a lot of parts of the game. But it's certainly like there's nothing like there's not gonna be like any kind of hidden place that you're gonna find.
Not to the same extent that the actual original Genesis games had.
Yeah,
but
I mean, to be fair, I do rank this below Mania and Sonic 3.
Sure, but I think for me, it just does feel a little bit too simple at times, which it may have to for the sake of the, you know, for the platform itself. It is kind of neat that, like, hey, if you were playing this on a phone, it could be a fairly big experience for that. I didn't. I played it on a set-top box, which means for me, there wasn't that much tangible difference between playing this or playing a more traditional console game, except for this one just required a subscription to have. And in that sense, like, the bosses were fairly straightforward on what you had to do with them. The levels they have branches, but a lot of it, you know, it's fine. Like, it's perfectly fine. I understand people who kind of get into it, what they're getting out of it. In terms of me, who's looking to sort of go around and find things in the levels, I don't think it's very conducive for that, but it's at least not so long that it's a pain in the butt to go back. Like, like, when I think of games that sort of do this type of thing, this feels like a slightly more open Sonic Colors to me. In terms of like what it's trying to do. And I still prefer Sonic Colors broadly because I think what Sonic Colors does mechanically is more interesting than what this game is trying to do.
Well, Sonic Colors is just an inherently deeper game.
It is. It has that. It has the Wisp powers. It has a lot of other stuff going on for it. And
Now, one thing I do prefer in this game over Colors is how this game extends its gameplay. Like the other acts in Colors, you know, they're pretty fun for the most part. Like, but a lot of them are also very simple and basic, even by like
they are.
Like,
but they also ask you to do some
this.
pretty significant things with the color powers. Like, it's not from my perspective, it's not necessarily that these other stages do crazy level design with Sonic. It just feels like, okay, we're going to put attention on this other kind of mechanic, which is the kind of thing that I like from, like, some of the levels I like in a, let's say, Mario Maker design space. Is like, let's figure, you don't want to use all the mechanics. You decide, like, okay, what mechanics are cool and important here? Let's find a way to sort of highlight how cool they can be and give you some different things to do with them. This one, like, I get the sense of flow. Sometimes I feel like the sense of flow is a little bit too easy and in front
Controlled.
of me. It is a little bit too controlled at times.
Like you cannot throw yourself off the rails is one thing I've noticed.
Which at some point I think that's probably for the best. Like it's the weird sense of, like, there's the complete lack of balance that you get from a Sonic Adventure 2, where it's like, no, we're not going to give you any guardrails. You just do it or you don't. And then there's this game where, it gives you all the guardrails that you could possibly want. I feel like there's good ground for, like, a middle. Like I feel like you could take what this game is doing, and if you really fleshed out what it's trying to do mechanically, maybe, like just have the structure that it's trying to present, where it is a combination of nodes and connectors, where you have these nodes of bigger open spaces where there's more things to do with it, where they can put more missions or more places to hide these keys that you need to find or other things, and then these connectors between it, which are like rails or more straight paths or like paths with mild divergence that are going to take you to the next major node place. That you could take a structure like that and make it work with a, we'll say, Frontiers level of control complexity. Which is
personally,
to say, like, I might be putting too much, expectations on a game like this, and I understand, like, yeah, this is a mobile game, and that's exactly what I was trying to tell people.
A mobile game made for touch controls.
Yeah,
and that's the headspace I came into this game.
But the reason why I feel like I have to emphasize that is because there were a lot of people who weren't coming from this, who were freaking the F out about it, being like, they're making a Sonic game and I can't get it because it's on Apple. And I'm like, I'm looking at what they're showing here, and it's like, and thinking about the kinds of games that this studio makes, and I'm just thinking, like, this is not going to be the next big Sonic game. This certainly feels like a filler Sonic game. I feel like that's
the way
a harsh
I
way
described
to say it.
The way I described this on stream is that this feels like a spin-off Sonic game that would have been made for the Wii or DS back in the late 2000s.
Yeah,
I can see
like
this
in terms of its plot, scope, gameplay. Well, okay, and gameplay to an extent where it's like it's not like the next Sonic Unleashed or Generations or something. It's a smaller experience, and that's why I first started talking about the flaws. And what I'm going to be talking about in my reviews is that, like, hey, like, this game does have a limited scope. It doesn't have the spectacular gimmicks
it basically has 8 levels.
Games.
It
doesn't have the.
I put it on the level of like a Lost World 3DS or that kind of thing. Where and it's not some grandiose thing. It's still a lot of fun, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Like, unless you really enjoy this specific aspect of Sonic's game design, then maybe you don't have to buy an Apple TV or an iPhone or whatever. But like, if you're like me, then and you're willing to drop the cash for that kind of experience, then yeah, like, it does scratch that itch.
It's funny, I did not know that this thing would work on a first-gen Apple TV, which I had.
You probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I probably should not. I saw the gameplay too, and I'm like, yeah, I'm better off that I just had the, 4K.
Yeah, I guess I should talk about the multi-platform experience, because I'm probably the one person here who has played this on one, two,
You
three,
have the most Apple
four,
products.
five different Apple products, 2 of which are on loan. So like I played this on I specifically borrowed 2 of my parents' Apple TVs, the newest one and the oldest one that was compatible. Plus, I got my old iPhone 7 out of my junk drawer. I got my new iPad and my new iPhone. And like on the iPad, it's glorious. Like that is if you haven't, like, the new iPad Pro is by far the best way to play this game. Like play on super high settings.
I would
frame
say
rate's buttery smooth.
4K Apple TV over a
Well,
touchscreen.
Well, keep in mind, like the latest Apple devices, Apple's gone pretty darn far in their chip manufacturing these days.
Yeah, like my new iPad Pro runs on like an M2 chip. Like
yeah,
it's really powerful, and it feels like and it's the 12.9-inch iPad, by the way, and like so. Like, yeah, the frame rate's buttery smooth,
like
the graphics are bright and gorgeous.
Are kind of a deal breaker for me, is all.
Well, you can connect the PS5 controller to the iPad Pro, or any Apple device. That is one thing that I did. So anyway, trying to get into the different devices here. So, like, buttery smooth on the iPad Pro. iPhone 14 Pro, more or less the same. Like, you do have that weird, like, black gap in the corner, but like I would not recommend the touch controls. I do not care for the touch controls. Like I put up a video of it working. I spent like 10 minutes on one of the simpler levels. Like it works, but it's just not for me at all. Like I got a $13 phone mount for my PS5 controller.
There are going to be kids who are much more used to playing in this format that I think will probably work with a little bit better. Yeah,
but like for an old fart like me, and for a super duper old fart like Shigs, like controller.
Yeah.
But so to getting into the lower end devices, like so on the iPhone 7 on the Apple and on the old Apple TV, it basically looks like a 3DS game. Like it is super low res, super pixelated, and on top of that, the frame rate like at times barely holds itself together. Like the game just freezes sometimes. It's not too bad on my iPhone 7 because the small screen kind of hides some of this stuff. But like unless your TV upscales like mine does, it's gonna look like a sub HD game on the early Apple TVs, and you will notice the frame rate hitches. Like the gameplay just pauses sometimes. It struggles to load the opening movie screen. Like So like I would recommend using a newer Apple device for this. It's not impossible to play it on the older stuff. It's perfectly playable there, but it's just the frame rate just isn't there.
And I will highlight, as I had previously, if you feel like you must play this, and I am in no way saying that you have to play this, but if you feel you must play this, an Apple TV 4K is going to be the cheapest way to get in. I would not recommend going earlier than the 4K, given what we know about its technical performance, but it's going to be the cheapest in.
I didn't. Right. Okay, so I actually didn't talk about my Apple 4K TV experience. So that is actually an important thing to note. So, like on the newest Apple 4K TV, like you can't really play it on the highest settings, and on just regular high settings at one resolution, full resolution.
When you're saying, hold on, just to give context, when you're saying high settings, are you talking about full 4K resolution?
I think the game displays a 1080p.
Okay,
but there's very high settings. So there's very high settings, and then there's just high settings. It sets it default at high settings, and when you have it at high settings at full resolution, the one resolution, you do eventually run into frame rate issues. And I found that the only way to resolve that was to knock the settings down to medium, or to knock the resolution down to 0.5, which makes it look like a 3DS game, but at least it does run very smoothly. So it's not perfect on Apple TV, but it will on Apple TV 4K. But so long as you're just willing to knock the visuals down a bit, it should still work pretty well.
I hadn't had too much issue with my experience with it. I think I did run at high at full 1080. The weirdest part of the experience was that it did not start me at 1080. It decided to start me at 720, and I had to manually set it to 1080.
Interesting. I think that maybe the game might have some kind of memory leak or something, because the frame rate, it seems to only happen after a certain amount of time.
It's not...
eventually the frame rate starts. I played that game for over an hour, and the frame rate was more or less fine on stream until after that.
It's worth noting that this game is not entirely technically sound. I experienced a loading soft lock on basically on stream itself, and there's been a lot of reports from people who have kind of not been have some of the challenges break on them, that they can't actually complete them. So
I haven't run into any of that.
No, the only thing I've run into is like you were saying earlier, the opening movie chugs a little at the very, very beginning of it, but then smooths out. I've had my game reset on itself just all of a sudden, and that's if I'm looking at trophies and not doing anything of importance. But I haven't had anything glitch with the levels themselves.
Some
of them can be really hard to get to the checkpoint in time, but I like that kind of challenge because it just makes me want to.
We are getting a question in Twitch chat here. OG Modern Sonic wants to know our thoughts on the story.
Oh, right. Yeah, thank you.
This is
so when I talk about... Oh, go on. Sorry.
It's a pretty simple story, but it's done well enough. So basically, spoilers for anybody who hasn't played the game, Eggman kidnaps Cream and forces her to sleep and go into this dream state because he has this machine that can get inside what's called the Reverie, not the one with the sound.
So if you guys, I want to describe the premise. Eggman is essentially filtering his evil thoughts through Cream's innocent mind. My housemate Maddie called it he said that Eggman is using Cream as a compatibility layer, essentially, to make Eggman's dark evil thoughts work on a device that's supposed to only work for innocent souls.
I'm pretty sure he's in the dream world because he disappears in it.
He is, but he used Cream as a filter to get in, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's...
so it gets into this dream world called the Revelry, where the Dreamweaver known as Ariam resides, and he's been trying to take over the entire, dream world and capture her.
No,
take her powers.
He wants the thing in the world that will grant his wish in the real world, and they have to stop him from doing that. What
the Reverie does is it manifests your dreams in the real world. And that's what he wants. But basically, my thoughts on the storyline are it goes back to what I said earlier, where this feels like a filler game on the level of something you'd get on the DS or the Wii, like Saga Rush Adventure or something. The story's good. Yeah. It's very low stakes, but as far as Sonic stories go, it is pretty solid in my opinion. It's got Ian Flynn writing the script,
and it doesn't have the heavy melodrama of the Frontiers at all.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. If you're hearing them talk about, well, Ian Flynn is writing this one, I will say, okay, let's slow your roll. It's fine.
He wrote the dialogue.
Yeah, but it's not doing anything crazy. It's oh no, Eggman's doing a plan. We need to stop the Eggman plan, and then they go into a universe to stop the Eggman plan, and that's
like I said, low stakes story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ian Flynn's dialogue, does what Ian Flynn's dialogue does. Yeah. So it's solid in my opinion, and I do appreciate that it doesn't have the melodrama of certain other stories. And but yeah, so yeah, it's good. So I guess I have nothing else to say on that.
That's kind of it though. Like it's not really that worth of note. The part where they describe as like, oh, this is canon. It's like, yeah, so what? So what? So what if it's canon?
And by the way,
they have an adventure in the dream world while the rest of them are having a slumber party, basically next to Eggman.
This does reference Sonic Shuffle indirectly because the reverie is powered by Magination energy or whatever, which is what the Dream Factory harvests. And of course, Magination Land from Sonic Shuffle.
I thought Magination Land was operated on the power of loading from disk 5 times a minute.
But yeah, like, although we should talk about the voice acting at least briefly. Like Tails, Amy, and Sonic are of course fine.
They're everything you expect. Yeah, it's good.
REM.
Yeah.
But then we have Cream and Rouge, who have...
Well, Cream sounds exactly like she did in Generations. Rouge sounds much younger for some reason, almost like the same age as Cream. And it's the same actress who was playing her before. And
I don't... Like, I wouldn't say Cream or Rouge are particularly good.
There's other problems besides Rouge's voice acting as far as the voice actress goes, so I'll leave that.
It is, yeah. Hey, there's another person who has some weird stuff going on them on Twitter, so yeah, be aware of that.
Yeah, Rouge's voice actress, yes.
But anyhow, but like, it was still a little weird in Team Sonic Racing, but generally speaking, it was fine. I think the line reads in this one from her are just kind of weird and awkward, and it's hard to pinpoint I've
never liked Rouge's new voice. It sounds like she's just perpetually trying to, like, I don't know, be this sultry character or something. Sultry might not be the right word, but like she's trying. It sounds like she has like one
Sonic Adventure 2 version of Rouge could turn it off. It feels like this character can't turn it off.
It's just constant and it's weird.
It's once again, they're doing a lot of this to fill out the female cast, but they have, I think, better females to work with, like, Blaze, that would work out better with this than Rouge does.
Well, yeah, but remember, Rouge and Cream work because they're analogs for Tails and Knuckles. Like, Blaze can't do that. We already have Amy, who's Sonic's analog. Now, like, I do want to get into Cream, because, like, I think that Cream has never had a good voice actress, if I'm being completely honest. Sonic Heroes, the Sonic X 4Kids, no. I
would say 4Kids is probably the best version of that, of all that I've heard, and that's maybe not saying a whole lot.
But like, so Michelle Ruff, I respect her as voice actor. She's a good voice actress, but Cream is too high pitched, and sometimes she sounds like an impression of an old lady, like one of those like really high pitched, squeaky old ladies who are like 3 feet tall.
Python-esque almost.
Yes, that is what she sounds like to me sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really hard to get a good Cream voice.
And it comes with, like, part of that issue is, like, she's in terms of the story of the series, she's supposed to be, like, ridiculously young. Like, she's young to the point of it's hard to really create a character that young and have it be, and have it make sense in the world that they have. And have her be
Sega Heartlight did have to contrive the story to make sure they could include her.
Yeah, hey, one of the reasons why it would be a very good idea following the events of Sonic Frontiers to have a time skip.
Yeah, I will say it's at least this particular story is a good catalyst for her, using
sure.
her as the main focus.
I don't have much complaints about, like, the treatment of her as a character, it's as good as Cream has ever been treated as a character, which is to say, it's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's hey, we've been dealing with a lot of this cast. This is just a focus on certain members of the cast that we have not gotten a lot of focus on, and maybe just need some stronger direction on how to approach those characters.
I do think ultimately, like, these characters have just been used so sparingly that we just need the actors just need to be given better direction on what to do with them. Although I guess what Mine of Rouge was just recast altogether, together, if I'm being honest. So
at this point, I will agree for different reasons.
Yes, actually, it's probably for the same reasons, but anyway. So, are we done? Anyone?
I think so.
Any final thoughts on Dream Team?
It's fine. Don't freak out about it. But hey, if you've got Apple anyway, go check it out. It is sort of interesting in that context.
I had mid expectations, and it went above my expectations, so I really enjoyed it, and I'll keep coming. Challenges and stuff. So
I had higher expectations, which I loudly announced in the last show, and it met those expectations.
All right, so I know the next thing is the Christmas Sage, which I have not experienced or played any of, so I think I'm gonna bow out at this point. And
or you could just listen to us. I don't know. Maybe
let the man leave if he has to.
all right. Oh, hey, you fixed Shigs' avatar. He's no longer Pac-Man.
I had to manually jam it in, so it is not animated in the way that we are.
Ah, okay. That's why he just sounds like he's permanently talking. Well, I guess you can kill him now.
Yeah, apparently I can. Bye, Shigs.
Bye-bye. See you next time.
Take care.
Okay.
So, Christmas Sage.
Okay, so we should probably just quickly go over the games we've played. I've played, I think, 4. I did Sonic Drift 16-bit, because, of course, that's Noah Copeland. I did Sonic Blast Next, because, of course, that is another remake of an 8-bit Sonic game. And I've done Sonic Spectre and the Christmas demo for Sonic Test Labs.
Oh, so you didn't play much of anything of non-Sonic stuff, did you?
No, I typically don't. I was hoping to play that racing game that you talked about, but I just not have time to get around to it. I decided to just focus on the stuff that I was going to write up for the site.
Cool. I did Sonic Drift, Sonic Blast Next, Sonic Robo Blast from the Past, and Sonic World DX.
Yeah, I saw you post a screenshot from that. I'm glad someone on staff finally taking a look at that.
Wait, who did?
You posted a screenshot on Discord, didn't you?
Oh, on Discord. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think Discord. I'm trying to think, like, did I tweet about this? I don't think I did, but okay, yeah.
I guess I said tweet by accident.
Yeah, I guess let's start off with the showstopper, Sonic Drift 16-bit.
Yes. So Noah Copeland, who's supposed to be done with fan games, decided he needed one more hit, and decided to give us a remake of, frankly, I think a decent series of 8-bit racers.
They're fun.
In Sonic Drift.
They're not Ridge Racer. They're what's that?
Pole position?
Yeah, they're pole position likes. And then they're basically fine. They're just not especially interesting.
I remember having lots of fun playing them on my Game Gear at the Duffy's back when I was a child.
Back when I was a child feels like a significant qualifier there.
But yeah, so this basically takes Sonic Drift and applies it to a Mario Kart-like formula.
Specifically, specifically like the SNES style of Mario Kart, but with a stronger emphasis on drifting.
Yeah, so like I meant to play this Super Mario Kart because I don't remember the drifting mechanics in that being nearly this good.
No, they were not. The drifting mechanics are like, well, you can try to survive a corner. This one does the more modern use of drifting, which is to say, by drifting, you charge a boost if you can drift long enough.
Yeah, and that feels really satisfying to pull off. Like, I've never been a huge fan of Mario Kart, and I'll be honest, some of that does kind of extend to this because the items get kind of annoying. But like, this is a very satisfying racer. Like, I love drifting. I love moving around corners. I love blasting forward, and like, I do at least enjoy the missile type the missile type weapons. Like you can just bullseye an enemy. Like everything in this demo feels super polished.
It's pretty good. The rough part of it is that some of the stages I think I've really struggled with.
Sandopolis.
Sandopolis was too big for me. Like, it was hard for me to really get a grip on where turns were coming up. And part of that was like, hey, maybe I just can't see enough of the screen. Part of it was like, oh, it's really wide and I'm not sure how to follow this.
The issue with Sandopolis is that the track is very wide in points and doesn't have any markers to tell you which way you're supposed to be turning. So it really needs to be narrowed down. But like, eventually I was able to like more or less figure out like how I was supposed to turn. But compared to the other two tracks, that was like the one place where I had that issue.
I had some issue in the first one. I did not really have as much. Like, I could dominate Casino Night. Like, absolutely. Sandopolis and the balloon something.
It was I think it's Balloon Island or Balloon Zone.
Yeah, something like that. That one I also struggled with. Like, part of it was just trying to nail down, okay, when do they want you to drift? How do they want you to drift? It didn't quite click with me continuously, especially across different characters, I think.
Balloon Island was the very first track that I dominated. Like, I beat that on hard mode. In the video, I posted up on our YouTube. Like, that is how much I dominated that. I found that I did like find that I needed to drift less. That's kind of where I learned all of the game mechanics. How I can like just apply the drift to just turn a little, and when I need to apply the drift to like actually charge it up to blast forward. And like for me at least, it was a very good just kind of learn the mechanics kind of track.
And I think I think at least some of how I feel about it is quite in comparison to another game I played, Victory Heat Rally, which is, I would say, it is a 3D game where you navigate with 2D sprites, but is just a very highly satisfying version of this sort of, not item cart racing, but just drift focused racing. And
yeah, that looked like a game I would have fun with, and that's definitely something I want to download. Although I doubt I'm going to write about it.
Yeah, visually it's astounding. Like it's even on Steam. You can go ahead and check out. Like, you can like wishlist on Steam if you want, or check out the trailer and the demo through Steam. But it's just, the drift is really satisfying on it. They want you to do it often. The navigating around other vehicles is really cool. It's just it feels tighter and more satisfying and more immediate. Whereas like I could wrap my head around Victory Heat Rally immediately and feel like I was having a really good time. Whereas with Sonic Drift 16-bit, it felt like I really had to build up to that. And sometimes I was successful at it and sometimes I wasn't. And it just, it feels like something needs to be tightened up about how the drift is managed. But also, like, I'm coming from it from the perspective of, like, I really like the modern Mario Kart drift. Like, to me, that's practically perfection between that and Sumo Digital's Sega racing game Drift.
I must admit, I put the drifting mechanics of those games in like a separate box in my brain for me. Like this is just for me like a retro kart racer, so I don't really compare them. But like I don't know, for me, I think the drift works great. I do appreciate that it has to be held for a certain amount of time in order for it to actually like it has to be filled like halfway in order for it to like give you a bit of a speed boost.
Sure.
The meter is very intuitive.
Mario Kart's
design.
design.
But like for me, like my only real issues are one, like that one Sandopolis turn. It's just way too wide, like we said before. But also, like, as someone who just kind of prefers straight-up racing over kart racers, I do kind of wish I do hope that the final game, like, maybe gives me a way to turn certain items off or turn items off altogether, because certain items just completely obliterate a playthrough. Like, there's this one item that's like the barrel from Sonic 3.
That was just straight up your blue shell, I think.
Like, except what this thing does that a blue shell doesn't is it seems to hit just right in the middle of the track. It doesn't hit you it doesn't always hit you in first place. It can just hit you like right in the middle and just completely obliterate your comeback if you were in the middle of making one. And so that is just kind of, I don't know. I could do without that. Like the game should have something like that, although maybe something that's more specifically targeted to the person in first place. But I would prefer to be able to turn it off if I just want to, like, I don't know, just have a racer where I sometimes just shoot missiles at people. I will say that I do prefer how the projectiles work in this versus the red shells and green shells. They I forget what the badniks are called that it uses, the
mosquito
things from
type
Sonic
ones.
CD. Yeah, but like when you fire them, they are much faster, much more immediate, and that just feels satisfying to do.
They feel more
satisfying to like just line up your target and
it feels almost comparable to like quite honestly, like some of the item paths in like a Diddy Kong Racing or a Sumo Digital Sega racing game. Like it just goes.
Yeah. And so like and I do also appreciate like how all of the items are mostly just like recontextualized around badniks. I think that's clever. Especially for like since the Sonic franchise like it doesn't really have too much in the way of power-ups outside of shields.
It is, but it does have
stuff like that. Makes sense to use badniks.
It has a bit of a learning curve, though. Like, you're gonna have to figure out what everything does.
I mean, yeah, but I figured most of them out like basically the first time I used them. Like so, and like there's the bomb one where you can like just drop that and then it can attach to somebody and explode them, and there's like the oil slick, which basically replaces the Mario Kart banana. But I am very much looking forward to seeing where this goes.
I want to hear about Sonic Blast next.
All right, so Sonic Blast next is like it doesn't really. It's just basically like I don't know. Like,
what if you made Sonic Blast for the Sega Saturn?
Yeah, picture if they just took Sonic Blast, gave it level design, and put it on the Sega Saturn. That's basically what we have. It's like outside of the aesthetic and the music, it does just kind of feel like just a different game. It doesn't. The level itself doesn't really have anything in terms of unique mechanics or anything. Like it's just kind of the sort of just pre-rendered. I guess the pre-rendered 32-bit Green Hill stage. But for me, like that's like. From the main appeal for this, for me, is just the aesthetic of it. I just enjoy this cheap, pre-rendered 32-bit look.
It's very goofy, and certainly you and I both appreciate that aspect of it. I ran into, I don't know if it was a technical issue or what, but I ran into some significant control problems that followed me between both controller and keyboard.
Yeah, I didn't have that issue.
Where basically it would just fail to recognize that I am pressing a directional button until I let go and press it again, which was weird and kind of ruined my experience with it. But beyond that, it kind of feels a little bit more sluggish to me than even the source material. Like, it feels like it takes just a little bit too long for Sonic to get up to speed.
I didn't notice that, but I don't know that like to me like outside of the concept and the look, it did just kind of play like your generic decent Sonic fan game.
Sure.
And you know, like that's like given what it's doing, I guess fine. I think that's fine. I find the concept itself to be the hook.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to seeing more of what they do with it.
There's only so much I can expect from a game based on Sonic Blast that wants to be true to the essence of Sonic Blast.
And I think that's the simple fact that the level design is, I guess, objectively better. That's about as much as we can expect from it at this juncture.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it handles the later levels and later bosses. I am hoping that maybe it introduces some twists. Not necessarily anything on the level of Sonic Triple Trouble 16-bit, but I don't know, a little something to surprise the player who's familiar with it. And hopefully they also do just ditch the pipe maze, because Sonic Blast has the worst pipe maze.
Aspect had so much reverence. They love their freaking pipe mazes in every one of their games, except for like Tails Adventure. It's freaking miserable. I hate when they did that.
This one had the worst one.
I don't know. Sonic 2 had some really nasty ones. Like, ones that killed you because, I don't know, screw you. You went out the wrong exit. Sonic 2 is a hateful game.
I'm pretty sure I beat that game not too long ago. I don't think the pipes were that bad.
I remember them being a pain in the butt. So you want Sonic fan games. I played two things that are probably some of the most fan-ass fan games that I have encountered in a while.
Oh my.
Sonic Robo Blast from the past appears to be a way to just basically a recreation of the original Sonic Robo Blast, which I guess is not really playable anymore because of its age. Like,
I mean, I would be surprised if there wasn't any way to play it now, but I thought the whole purpose of it was like they were, I don't know, remaking it for newer computers or something.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, sure, you can maybe you can find a way through a series of virtual machines or weird launchers or something, but generally speaking, you're not going to just like download a game and load it up. With that said, like, hey, it feels like a fan game made in the very, very early 2000s, which is to say it has very, very basic graphics. It is barely controllable. And it has like a little bit more story than would make sense in a game like this. But like,
is it a dark story or is it like is it serious or what's the tone?
There are cutscenes, and that's about as best as I can say because I think I skipped one of them before moving on to try something else. It seems interesting if you have a nostalgia for a very specific point in time, but that's kind of all I could really say about it because it still feels very much like a product of a very specific point in time. The other game that was very like fan game centric to me was Sonic World DX, which this seems like something you might get some enjoyment out of.
Oh, really?
It has a lot of the hallmarks you kind of expect from a fan game, although this one is fully 3D. It sets out to basically say, okay, here are a lot of characters. And when I say a lot, I mean like we're approaching 20. Like I think
Oh
there's
my.
17 that are accessible. I think some of them have unique moves, or at the very least they are sort of fall into the speed, power, flight archetypes as we've come to expect them to be. But yeah, you choose a character, you choose one of several levels inspired by levels across the series. I think the first one I went to is I brought Cream into their interpretation of Metal Harbor. Which Metal Harbor, like, it's a very iconic stage from Sonic Adventure 2. And
Yeah, one of my favorites.
yeah, and it's kind of neat that they went as far as they did, but also like it has the kind of jank that
Oh my.
like it's not unplayably bad, but it is the kind of thing where like maybe the camera is just a little bit too attached to your back. It's kind of hard to navigate around. I got stuck in a position where it's like it locked me into the sidestep action, but also I was in a more open environment, so it couldn't really figure out where the sidestep should be aiming towards. So
Huh.
that was a little
Interesting.
weird to try to figure out. But it has things like you could find shortcuts, you can try to get best times.
I assume this was like a multiplayer framework type game where you like make your own character or something. That's the impression I always got from this.
No, it's just a lot of levels and a lot of characters, and it has a sort of hub world that you can go into and explore, and it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat for a fan project.
Is this not an online game then?
No, it not as far as I can tell.
Oh, dang, I thought this was an online game. Huh.
No, it's basically just a big,
Man,
hey, let's
no idea
reinterpret
where I
a
got
lot of
that,
Sonic
yeah.
stuff and give you access to a lot of characters. So
Okay, well, I'll take a look at it then. So, another fan game that I played and I really enjoyed is Sonic Spectre, which I don't know if you saw any of the video I put up on our YouTube.
It is Shadow the Hedgehog inspired ?
I mean, okay, so like it is a classic Sonic game with some really cool level design that also has the Black Doom aliens for some reason. And you fight them, and like they are core to the story. Like I think so. By the end of the third act, it's basically revealed to you that Eggman is working with Black Doom to conquer the planet, and like he's imagining himself as like this kind of this big sort of more muscular, like I don't know, dictator type guy. It's kind of cute, but so like the main thrust of this just seems to be that he and Black Doom are just working together, and Sonic is going to have to stop him. And so like throughout every level, you usually have to fight a Black Arms alien, followed by an Eggman boss. Aside from the third one, which seems to be an Eggman boss in Metal Sonic, but so like this game, it's got a lot of like kind of awkward still frame cutscenes, which I'm not looks it looks a little like I would kind of just prefer something along the lines of Sonic 3. But regardless, like aside from the production values, like the level design in this is quite good. Like remember earlier how I was talking about gimmicks in Dream Team to set every single level apart. This game has gimmicks, like really cool gimmicks. Like the first level, it takes place like in this sort of this capital city, The very first level is very, very basic, lots of curves and stuff, and then the second act of that level, it's built entirely around like riding water jets. Like there's these massive water jets that like shoot out and they like send you forward, they send you up, and like there's these waterfalls that you run under that limit your jump height. And it's really cool. And the second level does the exact same sort of thing, except you're dealing with wind and giant fans and like you have to like ride all these wind currents to platform, and it's all just really cool, really creative. The boss fights. The boss fights are a lot of fun. They've got a nice sense of scale to them, like the Eggman one specifically. Like the first one, like you're fighting Dr. Eggman, who's got like this giant tentacle monster, and it's like it makes up the level, and until you get up to the top, and you have to like hit the weak point and avoid these giant tentacles. And then the second boss fight, which is like definitely, I think, the best boss fight I've played in the game so far. There's like this gigantic bird thing that you have to climb up and hit the weak points, and as you destroy it, it changes shape, and you have to like jump on it and get again to hit different weak spots, and it's really cool. It has like this music track from Metal Gear Revengeance playing throughout the whole thing, which just feels so right for it. Like just to give you an idea of like the tone of this game, this is like a very 2000s edgy kind of Sonic game. Although, like,
but in the style of 16-bit.
Yeah, but when you do take down a black arms alien, like you don't kill them. They are on the ground, unconscious, like with stars over their head. So that's cute.
Oh, there should be a small animal inside that you explode them and let the animal out.
But like, it is definitely like it's definitely one of the best games I've played so far this stage. I highly recommend it. There's 6 zones in all. I've only played through the first 3. I hope to get through the next 3 in the next couple of days. But so check out Sonic Spectre. I highly recommend it. Tails and Knuckles are also playable in it.
Cool. I was watching. While you were talking, I was watching a bit of a playthrough of it. Seems interesting. And
it just has that sense of flow that I talk about. Like it has that damn well.
And what was the fourth thing you played again? Did you
Sonic Test Labs?
Okay,
I went back to that.
This was one of your big things over in Sage proper earlier this year.
Yes, and it's back. It's got 2 new levels, which do some cool new things. It's also, at the very least, it has made the oil rig level a little easier. It's eliminated some of the unfair difficulty aspects that I was dealing with before, like that turret that would just target you with precision, and like you'd either have to like wait behind a platform for it to shoot, or you would just have to be lucky and not get hit. But they've gotten rid of that. But the highlight for this for me is the 2 new levels. So the first new level is like this city escape type level that it uses lots of half pipes, lots of physics. But for me, the highlight of it is there's a skateboarding section where like you legit just have Sonic dealing with real skateboarding physics, and it feels really awesome to control. And it makes me really wish that we could like just get a fully 3D Sonic game that just utilizes those physics.
It looks visually, it looks like they're leaning harder into sort of the style that it set out to implement in the first in the first demo that we've seen. That same level has a bit where you have to like collect jet set radio spray cans in order to spray paint a thing and unlock the door to get through. I'm not a huge fan of that particular sequence though. That's like kind of the one sequence in the game that I don't care for. Because it just kind of breaks the flow of the game.
But the final level is probably the coolest because it's just weird. Like, okay, so it is this underground subway level where you hit these, where you can where you hit these clocks that will slow down time, turning the subways into platforms. And the game and the level also just at points just completely twist around, so that instead of the subways it just completely twist the center of gravity. So instead of the subways just coming just straight forward, they are moving up like platforms, and it's just this really cool, trippy level that, like, I don't think I don't think a Sonic game has ever like actually used slowed down had a slow down time mechanic before. Like I'm pretty sure that is like just original to this, and it is just like just like in the earlier demo. The level has a great sense of flow. It feels great to move through the different challenge, move through the different things, homing on things, stuff like that. Man, I'm just running out of nouns. But it's just this, I don't know, it's just really creative, trippy level that really makes me look forward to seeing what else this developer does. Now, I will say this: I do have one major issue with this fan game, and that is if like the level gives you lots of cool things to home in on, to to platform across. But if you miss that, if you miss all the platforming stuff and just kind of fall down, you're just kind of left with this you just kind of fall down to this part of the game that just doesn't have much in the way of level design. Like, the first demo had some of this, where, the level that took place on the street. There were lots of cool things you could do if you could, like, keep yourself on the upper paths with all the grind rails and stuff. But if you just fall down to the street, and if you can't get up off the street, you're just kind of running down a straight road for a good chunk of the level, which just isn't fun. Like, there's just too much in the lower level where there's just nothing happening. And all I can think of is just like, I don't know, I guess this game might need more bottomless pits. Or they need to do more to make those bottom areas just play better. Just give you more to do. But on the whole, like, this still remains one of my favorite Sonic fan projects at the moment.
Cool. I've got some original stuff that I want to highlight. Unfortunately,
right.
I would have loved to. I would have loved to spend some more time with the latest build of Mechanico, which is still something
I think you
that
didn't have time for it last time.
I did this stage. I just did not the previous stage. I think I did a write up or something, or at least recorded some video. I had a couple. I didn't have it in me to just go on Twitch and be like, oh, I have a bunch of these games, let's go through them, because I was not prepared. So I just went ahead and did it over our Discord, and we had Sage Organizer Rummy come in and just make some suggestions on things to check out. So under their suggestion, I popped in and tried Soda Powered Penguin.
Oh my!
Soda Powered Penguin is an interesting one. It's sort of a precision, kind of a precision physics platformer about using a strange and powerful double jump and sliding across various curved surfaces in order to get various collectibles and make it through various level challenges. And it feels satisfying to play. It's a bit challenging to really get through some of the more tougher challenges from it, but a lot of it just comes down to how can you use the elements of the stage to get through a segment, and how can you just sort of work to flow between them. You don't have a lot to you. You basically have a jump and a directional boost, where like you could boost left or right or diagonal or whichever direction, and then you just use that to try to shoot yourself through crevices or jump over gaps or hit a balloon to then to basically refill your ability to do yet another boost jump and continue through that way, and use curves to break through blocks. It's not that far removed from like some of the more satisfying parts of a pizza tower, where you're just trying
Yeah.
to find ways to get through a section by manipulating the architecture of the world in sort of a very move manipulating way, I guess I would say. Basically thinking about the way that the level is organized to figure out how to get through it, and getting through it is the challenge. Check it out. It's visually it's pretty simple, but I think it works for what it's trying to do. I complain a lot about fast-paced games not showing enough screen in order to give you time to react to things. No, this one shows you plenty screen. This one is significantly zoomed out enough to see what you need to do. Then you just have to figure out, okay, how are you going to do it? Victory Heat Rally I touched on a little bit. It is a, we'll say, 16-bit like GBA-ish style of arcade racer, but taking place in like a 3D track environment. Has a very satisfying drift. Steering is very satisfying. It has a really strong sense of speed. It has a fantastic style. I absolutely will be keeping an eye on it. It looks great.
All right. That's something want to check out. Does it have a Linux version? I'm curious if I can just play it on my Steam Deck.
I don't think so. You can check it out on Steam, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. That's gonna be.
I got Windows on my Steam Deck. I could just do it that way. So both those sound pretty cool.
They're pretty good. I am. Sorry about that. Steam decided to play trailer without muting. I'm just checking. To be announced under Platonic Friends. So they have a publisher or something. I don't see suggested system requirements beyond just Windows. So yeah. I played a bit of Advent Neon, which is a game that has hit a couple stages, but at least the earlier stage
That
this
sounds
year.
Familiar.
But this is my first time playing it. It's kind of interesting. It's sort of a pace-focused beat-'em up with some amount of platforming. You play a weird green electronic or computer guy who is facing off against a bunch of various robots. A lot of it deals in using counters and using air dashes.
Ooh, I love counters.
Reflecting those, or using those to open up attacks. For me, I felt it like it demanded a level of precision of pace that I just don't think really jived with me.
I'm looking at a GIF of it. This looks like something that's up my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's fine. I kind of struggled to figure out what I had to do in the moment. A lot of times, it felt like it had a couple of cheap deaths, but in its premise, it's sort of interesting, and it generally feels pretty good. I just, I may not have the patience to try to optimize what it's asking me to optimize. Like, that part just doesn't hit with me. Like, it comes right down to the fact that, like, it has a fighting game style training room where it's like, okay, spawn some enemies, practice, see where your attacks hit, try to chain attacks together. And for me, it's like, yeah, there are games that I like that do that, or that have that level of depth to what it's asking you to do. For me, I just feel like it's asking more than I can comfortably do.
Mm.
It's asking me things that
I'm gonna take a look at that one for sure.
And I'm trying to skim through to see if there was anything else that might have been.
Have you gotten around to playing Scratch and Melody? Because that seems like a game you would enjoy.
I did not this time. It admittedly, like, aesthetically, I kind of like what it's doing. In terms of game, like, as a rhythm game, it seems, I don't know.
Well,
Like,
regardless, if you haven't played it, then you know.
yeah, it's hard for me to say at this point because I'm just not sure about it. Like,
Well, I would really like you to do a Mechanico. Take a look at Mechanico this time around.
oh, I did the previous, even if oh yeah, I recorded video last time. But yeah, it is still one of my most anticipated my most anticipated projects coming out of Sage. Like, at this point, Victory Heat Rally is up there, but Victory Heat Rally is probably not a game that I would spend. I'm interested in it. I just don't know how long term I would spend on it because, you know, it's an arcade driving game, and I sort of have a a limit on how much I can take of that. But as like an action RPG built on Mario and Luigi style mechanics, like Mechanico is right up my alley.
For me, my top game so far is currently between Sonic Spectre and Sonic Drift. But I am definitely going to be taking a look at some of the ones you looked at the very least.
Yeah.
So is that everything for Sage?
I think that's everything for Sage. I'm skimming through just to see if there was anything else, and I think I just did not get to as much as I was hoping to.
So, well, yeah, but to be fair, we are only a few days into Sage, and so we are going to be doing more coverage of Sage. We should be doing write-ups, correct? I know I plan on doing some.
To be determined.
Okay, and one of us is going to do a stream this time. One of us. So, before we sign off, there's a piece of breaking news that I should bring up. So a data what's the term? Data driver. The data drillers. Data crap.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
You know, people who dig into games, they're called data
mining.
Data miners. There we are. Okay, a data miner named who goes by Xaneri on Twitter has data mined the new Sonic Superstars update, and he has found 2 new upcoming pieces of DLC in the files. Retro Diner Style Amy, and referred to internally as IHOP Amy.
Okay.
And Shadow Costume Sonic.
Oh, dear God. Oh, lordy. Okay, sure. Sure, F me up. F me up,
like, we know this guy's accurate because back in October he data mined the game and found references to Holiday Sonic. So yeah, as well as like lots of prototype level names. So yeah, we're getting Shadow or Sonic, I guess, dressed as Shadow.
No, they did it wrong. No, if we're not getting classic Shadow, then it's not worth it. Justify classic Shadow for no reason whatsoever.
What if it's basically just classic Shadow, but Sega's just saying it's Sonic as Shadow?
If they give him a unique name like they did for the rabbit skin, okay. If they decide to,
oh man, I hope.
If they decide to play it safe and be like, no, it's Sonic, but he's wearing a Shadow hat, then no, then they're cowards.
Yeah, Xaneri speculates that's just like Sonic and a Shadow onesie, but no, it needs to be just Shadow, please, Sega. Please make it Shadow. Come on.
To be fair, if he was wearing a Shadow onesie with like a hoodie and it's just Sonic's face peeking out in between, that would also be pretty funny.
Okay, well, I guess at least you'd be happy with that.
You know the Hatsune Miku Sonic outfit for the games where she dresses up as Sonic. Just that, but it's Sonic in it, and the outfit is Shadow.
But, like, depending on how they handle this might be basically what I was asking for back in October. Because, hey, just give us, like, Shadow, but he's, like, over the Sonic skin.
I mean, it's not exactly, it's not really too bolstering my confidence in it as a product that or as DLC plans that a lot of the DLC that we're finding are references to more costumes, because I don't need more costumes. I need either patches to help improve the...
I'm sure that they're going to be doing patches as well.
I'm not as certain as you. I don't think there's any evidence of that quite yet.
We just got a Sonic Frontiers patch out of nowhere that fixed and changed
Sonic
a bunch
Frontiers
of
is
stuff,
being treated as significantly differently as a product, and was significantly more successful as a product as well. I don't think we're getting the DLC roadmap in the same way that we're going to get it.
I wouldn't expect us to get, like, three big free updates or whatever.
Plus, we're dealing with external developers as well.
I'm just happy we're getting Shadow in some form. So that's everything, I think.
It's too much.
So
we
will be back in roughly 2 weeks. We don't have an exact date yet, especially since, like, the next Sunday is, like, right ahead of Christmas. The next, like, Sunday, 2 Sundays from now. I don't really want to do it after Christmas. So,
we could
like,
just not do another podcast.
No, I want to do another one.
We could just not do another podcast.
No,
we could take time off because it's the dang holiday. We could do streams instead of podcasts.
We can do both.
No, we can't do both.
In any case, so thank you for joining me, Shigs.
He's GX. Gone. What? So now I'm Shigs too. Did we swap Did we swap names at the beginning or something?
Yes, you did.
God.
So thank you for joining me, GX, and as I was going to say before my brain farted, and also thank you to Shigs, who joined us for most of this, but then he left early. And so the next show, we will at least be discussing IDW's comics. So I'm looking forward to that.
Let me sleep, Sega. Please let me sleep.
No, Sega, I want like 3 new Sonic games next year. Do it.
We're gonna get a new Sonic game announced that will be out by the end of December. Somehow.
Ooh, 2 Sonic games in December. God. Yeah, like maybe another visual novel. Yes.
They're going to release like an expansion to Sonic Dream Team that makes the game 3 times as long or something.
You know what would be funny is if they released like a Sonic holiday special visual novel type thing, like, in the vein of that Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog thing.
I don't think we're going to be getting
on Christmas Day.
I don't think we're going to be getting that because of how much Sega is being a tool to their American staff.
Well, anyway, yeah, let's.
Yeah, peace.
I messed up by sign off.
Yeah.
Peace, everyone.